The New York Rangers had a pretty disappointing and you could say bad overall season, top to bottom. There were many players on this team that just didn't meet those expectations that many of us fans, and I'm sure the coaching staff and just organization in general had for these certain players. But I do think there was one forward line for this Rangers team from this past season that actually played quite good, and I think going into next season there could play a pretty key role for this team and be a bit underrated, and that is the Rangers' fourth line. Now, I fully understand it's the fourth line. It's not the most fun thing to talk about, and it's not the most exciting or important thing for a hockey team. But when you take a look at a fourth line there and you get into the playoffs, for example, you need to have a good fourth line that ideally can play a good two-way game there, be a good defensive line, play some really good defensive hockey, not be a liability when they're out there on the ice, and also ideally bring some good physicality. And yeah, here and there, bring a little bit of offense, but mainly you want a good kind of defensive forward line that can bring some physicality. And that is exactly what I think we could potentially have out of the fourth line of Adam Edstrom, Sam Carrick, and Matt Rempe. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be a shutdown line, but I think this line can be a good energy line to bring some just kind of obviously energy, some intensity, some physicality to the lineup there that this team obviously needs more of. And having your fourth line made up of guys like 6'7" Adam Edstrom, 6'9" Matt Rempe, and even 6 foot Sam Carrick, but he's a very physical, tough centerman. So I think that fourth line can really do some wonders for this team. And, like I said, I understand it's the fourth line there. It's not the most exciting or important thing in the world, but if you want to be a true cup contender there, a team that can actually potentially go on a deep run, you normally need to have a pretty solid fourth line. Like I said, I'm not saying it's the most important thing, but having a good fourth line definitely sets you off on the right foot. And I think that's exactly what this Rangers team could have for next season there. And another bonus for this potential fourth line for next season is the fact that they're all three going to be on very cheap and manageable contracts. You take a look at Sam Carrick, for example, who signed a 3-year deal this past offseason with a $1 million cap hit. So he's got 2 more seasons left with just a $1 million cap hit, which is not bad at all for a more than capable and I would say above average fourth line center. Then you got Adam Edstrom, who is an RFA with arbitration eligibility, but with him missing some time due to injury and not putting up insane numbers, I definitely would not expect him to get a massive pay raise. Maybe he's looking at an extra 400K, 500K at the very most. Or maybe he's going to make 1.2, 1.3, maybe 1.4 mil at the very, very most. I can't imagine anything more than that, if that. So him making $146K this past season, he'll maybe make a little bit more, a few 100K extra. So you're looking at maybe just over $1 million, something around there for next season for Adam Edstrom. And potentially maybe it's going to be like a 2-year deal. We'll have to wait and see what happens there, but definitely will be on a cheap, very manageable contract. And you also take a look at Matt Rempe. He is an RFA without arbitration eligibility. So kind of like Edstrom there, though, I would still imagine he makes maybe an extra kind of few 100K more, maybe an extra 2, 3, 400K at the very, very most. So again, you're looking at 1.1, 1.2 at probably the most for guys like Edstrom and Rempe for next season there. So combined, you're looking at maybe 3.5, under 4 mil for that fourth line combined there, all three of them. So I think this team is in a pretty good spot there. I think this fourth line could be pretty key for this team. And if guys like Rempe and Edstrom can take another step in their game as well, because, Edstrom still only 24 years old, Rempe still only 22. Both of them, have some pretty good size there. So sometimes it takes those kind of guys who are, 6'7", 6'8", those kind of guys are at that size. Sometimes it takes them a little longer to kind of develop there and really kind of take that stride in the NHL. So maybe we can see a big step from guys like Rempe and Edstrom. And I think we did see a decent sized step from Matt Rempe from last season there in 2023, 2024. That season there up until this season, 2024, 2025. I think we saw a decent kind of step up there from Rempe. So I'm hopeful we can see another one there, and if he can have a pretty good offseason there kind of working on his game, maybe we can have a really great and kind of top-tier fourth line in the entire NHL. And, taking a look at some of the analytics there that kind of really show how good this fourth line was at moments for this team. And like I said, I'm not saying they're going to be some elite kind of shutdown line there. They're not going to bring a ton offensively, but what they can bring is a lot of energy, some kind of intensity, some just kind of tenacity, just a lot of stuff that this team desperately needs. I mean, we need some more physicality. That's what this fourth line is going to bring. They're going to go out there, Matt Rempe, Edstrom, they're going to be buzzing around it. They're looking to hit everything. Same thing with Carrick there. All three of those players are very physical. They're all tough. So I think having a fourth line like that there, you also got that, size and obviously reach with guys like Rempe and Edstrom there, which can help with defensively. So I think this fourth line can be a bit of a monster line there, especially with having guys like Rempe and Edstrom who have that size out there. It definitely could be a pretty interesting and very fun fourth line to watch. And obviously, Sam Carrick down there in the middle, I think, is definitely, a guy who can definitely do a pretty good job. You also got guys like Johnny Brzezinski and maybe Yusuf Parson if he gets brought back, who, could play some kind of key roles here and there on the fourth line if they have to. But I think in general, if this team's fourth line is Edstrom, Carrick, and Rempe, I'll be quite happy for next season. But taking a look at the advanced stats of Adam Edstrom, Sam Carrick, and Matt Rempe, that line, when they're together from this past season, they ended up having a total of 76.9 minutes played together across 15 total games. Obviously, Edstrom missing quite a bit of time due to injury. That definitely didn't help things out there. But still, when they were together, just over 76 minutes there, and they had a 2.11 expected goals per 60 minutes, which isn't great. It's not completely awful, but it's definitely not great or good at all. But the expected goals against per 60 minutes was 2.03. And out of all the New York Rangers forward lines from this past season there, any kind of combination with at least about 75 minutes played together, so, a decent sample size together, they had the best expected goals against per 60 minutes. So they were arguably the best kind of defensive line at moments when they were all together of lines, with at least 75 minutes played together. So I think that's pretty solid there. Obviously, it's not like they're going to be some elite shutdown line, but when they were out there together, they actually did quite solid. And obviously, it's not like the Rangers team were phenomenal defensively last season, but it does say something there that when they were together, they had the best expected goals against per 60 minutes of lines of the New York Rangers forward side of things there, with at least about 75 minutes played. So I think that says something there. They're not going to be an elite shutdown line, but they definitely can be a good defensive line. And I think that's very important because, like I said earlier, if you have a fourth line that can, bring some energy, bring some physicality, play with some kind of intensity, but also be a good, reliable defensive line and bring a bit of offense here and there, like, Rempe, Carrick, Edstrom can here and there offensively, but the main part just be a reliable defensive line and bring the energy and physicality. That's what I want out of a fourth line. That's exactly what I think they can bring. So really and truly for next season there, if they're the fourth line for this team, which I'm kind of expecting and hopefully they will be, I think this team will be in a pretty good spot. And obviously there are a lot of other moves that need to be made to make this team a true cup contender. I think this is kind of one step in the right direction. If you put these guys together, this can be a good fourth line, but obviously there are some other kind of holes to fill, and I'm just kind of hopeful to see guys like Chris Kreider and Keandre Miller get dealt away, and then possibly see a true top 4 caliber defenseman and a true third line center added in here, and possibly some other stuff as well. But just in general, I think this fourth line definitely could be a pretty big kind of bonus and an impactful line for this Rangers team in this upcoming season. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content, and of course, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on guys like Matt Rempe, Adam Edstrom, Sam Carrick. Do you think they played well this season? If they played bad, let me know your thoughts on their kind of development going forward. And also, what are your thoughts on them on a line together as a whole? Think it's good? Think it's bad? Let me know. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.